almost teenagers. Yes, they were married, and they, well, first they had good relationships, but then they understood that they didn't love each other. They were not close. They have different interests. They were never. They had one son, but they lived separately and had their own lovers. Well, when Elizabeth, after 20 years of reign, died in 1760, she was followed by Peter III, that nephew, son of her sister. But Peter III, here, his politics was not good enough, was not wise, and he made many stupid mistakes. And the army, the officers, didn't like, not educated, I don't know, and they loved his wife, Catherine, much more. Catherine was a very wise lady. When she arrived to Russia, immediately she started to study Russian, and she spoke Russian fluently. She was good in this language. She read a lot. She studied Russian culture. She became Orthodox. Well, she was really loved by people and by the army. And after half a year of her husband's reign, the officers rebelled. They decided they don't want to have him on the throne. And one of the most influential officers, Orlov, who was at the same time Catherine's lover, helped to arrest Peter III and put him into prison, and Catherine became the empress. Later, Peter III died in prison. And this palace, the marble palace that we passed with you, was called the Palace of Gratitude, the palace that Catherine ordered to build and give as a present to Orlov, Grigory Orlov, just because she was thankful. And we go now under the Trinity Bridge that we have already crossed a couple of times. To your left, you can see Peter's embankment. Yeah, the group of trees there show us where the Peters. Further on, you can see the chimneys of the Aurora cruiser. And we are going to leave Neva River soon and go to one of the side rivers, Fontaine River. To your right, you can see the trees of the summer garden, and before you can see two buildings that house the University of Culture. As I have already told you, we have plenty of universities. Some of them new are not very popular, some old and well, very popular among the students. One of them is film directors. Direct skills is also possible to study here, and everything that connects with the Pushkin loved to walk along this fence and enjoy its beauty and grace. Well, if you look across and in front of you, you can see long yellow. The old old hospital was founded by Peter the Great. It was for a hospital and at the same time an academy. It is not only one building, but there is a big territory. The trees behind show this territory, which is the Naval Medical Academy and the Naval Hospital at the same time. It is one of the best one, I mean the quality. So most people who have some serious troubles with their health, even when they are not military, they try to get there to be cured, to be treated there, just because it's really one of the best in Russia. In autumn or spring, when we have really strong winds, and how uncomfortable it was to go by boat in the previous days. So we turn from the Neva River, and you can still see the roller coaster at the back of the ship. Remind you of the significant cruiser that made a signal shot for the beginning of the revolution in October 1917. And we turn to Fontanka River, which makes a kind of an island in the center of the city because it goes from the river Neva and falls into the river Neva again, so it makes a circle in the center of the city. It is 6.7 kilometers long, and in the 19th century, at the beginning of the 19th century, it was the border of the city. So the city was on the right-hand side or sometimes the left-hand side. They are supposed to be outskirts, kind of outskirts. We have some restoration works of the embankment. To your right, you can see the Summer Garden and the Summer Palace, which is now a museum. It belongs to the Russian Museum, and they have the interior to Peter the Great. And the Summer Garden, which originally looked completely different. At the days of Peter the Great, it was a French formal garden, where all the trees were trimmed. Actually, this name, Fontanka, is because of the word fountain. The source of water for the fountain, so the Summer Garden, was this river, and that gave its name, Fontanka. But in 1777, there was a very big flood in the city, the flood that destroyed the fountain. And the time changed, fashion changed, so they were never restored. A little coffee house where they like to have coffee and spend good time. The floods. We have them very often. Almost years. Very often we had floods that covered, well, sometimes the first floors of the buildings. The most devastating was in 1824, when water went up almost for 4 meters over with the architecture that was more typical to the 18th century, at least to the central part. For the big industrial exhibition, that's where you can see these big windows. You had to have a lot of light inside because there was the exhibition, all the exhibits supposed to be well seen. Well, it was built especially for one occasion, for one main exhibition that took place in St. Petersburg. But later, after that exhibition, it was also used for different exhibitions and, well, meetings and so on and so forth. So this is the building to your left. Near the Michael's Castle, which is richly decorated with military ornaments. Please be careful again, don't stand up under the bridges. This is the 19th century construction. So, and from Fontaine River, we turn again to the Moika River, to the part where we haven't seen yet. There, the part that falls into Fontaine. To your left, you can see the Michael's Castle. You saw it from the ground. Michael's Castle was called after Archangel Michael, patron saint of Paul I. You remember I told you that Catherine the Great took power after her husband was arrested and later killed, and their only son, Paul, was quite young when his mother ascended the throne. But he was supposed to be the next heir, the next after her, actually even the next after his father. She was a kind of a regent, but she didn't want to give him power, and anyway they didn't have good relationships. The fact was that when Catherine gave birth to a child, her son, she didn't bring him up herself. Her husband's aunt, who had no children of her own, took the boy to bring him up herself. And that's why the mother and the son never had really good relationships. So Paul couldn't forgive her mother what happened with the father, and well, she didn't bring him up, and he didn't agree with her politics, so they quarreled a lot, and that's why he managed to ascend the throne only after her death. So to your left, but Paul was married, and as I told you, he had 9 children. 10 to be exact, but one of them died. 9 children who lived long. To your left, you can see the little pier and the garden. The garden is called Michael's Garden, but now Michael's... So these belong to Grand Duke Michael, son of Paul I. Yeah, so, and that's why Michael's garden here to your left. When Paul I actually ascended Russian throne, he made 2 rules, 2 orders. First rule was no foreigners anymore on Russian throne, because Catherine was the foreigner. So, and we are now going to go on the one more bridge on our way, which we passed when we went to the Cathedral of the Steel God. You can have a very nice view to the cathedral through the tree to your left. The 2 canals meet, and there is also one more famous place where we have actually 3 bridges connected. Yeah? So that's 2 canals. This is the place where the newlyweds have to come. So to your right, you can see yellow bricks military building, and most of the area, one more to your right, belonged to military. St. Petersburg was the capital of the city, and that's all around. The main army of Russia was housed in this area. To your left you can see Long King building, which is now under reconstruction. It was the royal stables, horses, carriages, They were kept to the left, in the Pinkish building to your left. The central part of this building is the church. We call it Staples Church. And it became significant after the fact that Alexander Pushkin burial ceremony took place in that church. He lived nearby, and when he died, his burial ceremony was in the nearest church. Along Moika River, now we have the most expensive apartments in the real estate market, and there are also several state buildings and the embassy. So where you can see the flags, it means that you can see the embassies of different countries in this building to your right. One more 18th century bridge ahead of us. Actually, the bridges started to appear in the city, mainly in the last part of the 18th century, 19th century, because Peter didn't want people to go on foot or by carriages. He wanted them to go by boat. It's quite low, be careful. Palaces were built along the Moika River in 19th century, but now we are passing the last one. To your right you can see the green building with white columns. Now we nickname it the Last Palace because it was constructed in 1914 by one Armenian merchant, and it was the last palace ever built here on the Moika River. Because in 1914 the Second World War started, the First World War started, and soon after that the Revolution War, so no palaces were built after 1914 until the last day. And if you look to your left, you can see the long yellow building where we have the Memorial Museum of Alexander Pushkin. To your left, the apartment is. Alexander Pushkin changed several apartments in the city. He lived here and there several times. He changed the apartment when his family grew bigger. He had a wife and children, and that was the last apartment where he lived. And from that apartment, he went to the bureau. One French officer abused his wife, and he decided to protect her, and well, they had a duel, and unfortunately Alexander Pushkin was mortally wounded on the duel. It was the wound into the stomach. He suffered for several days, and then he died in that apartment. Now we have the memorial museum here. We are now on the way back. That's why we go again under the Square Bridge, which is 76 meters long.